Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dine with Shamu. My name is Autumn. I'm one of the trainers here in the area, and I'm just going to chat with you a little bit about our animals, our facility, and also a couple of safety reminders while you are in the area. Okay. So just a couple of things to keep in mind while you are next to the pool. This area is a 24-hour splash zone. We're never going to ask the animals to purposefully douse with water. However, they are very large mammals. When they jump up and out of the water and back in, they can displace a lot of that salt water over this tiny wall over onto your side. So just remember to keep all of your belongings, any cameras, bags, up off of the ground. You can either put them on your table or hang on your chair behind you, but you mainly just do not put those items on the ground because that is where the water will flow over to. Also, this acrylic panels right here next to your tables are perfect for viewing the animals, and we just ask that you don't reach in between the cracks or over the top. Sometimes people tend to drop things, those things could bounce into the pool and be extremely harmful to the animals if ingested. So we want to make sure to keep our items over on that side of the wall, and we'll keep our items on our side of the wall. If something does happen to fall, just let one of us know as soon as possible, and we can retrieve that item for you. Now we're going to get into some fun stuff. We're going to start talking about our facility here at Shamu Stadium. So our facility is composed of 5 pools, one of them being right here next to you. This pool's about 32 feet deep. Our main show pool, where you see the One Ocean Show and our education show, are about 36 feet deep. We have 3 more behind the scenes here. They're all interconnected through a series of gates and channels. Between all of the pools, we do house about 5.8 million gallons of water. Now, that is salt water. It's pumped in directly from the bay. It goes through a series of filters before it enters our animal exhibits. It's filtered through those exhibits and then filtered again before being released back out to the bay. So eventually, we are hopefully cleaning out the bay, but we are recycling that water. Now, the water tends to house right around 56 degrees, so it's pretty chilly. Usually in the summer months, we don't have to chill it, but in the winter months, we don't have to chill it. In the summer months, we'll sometimes chill the water to make it a little bit more comfortable for the whales to be a little cooler. Now, hanging out here in the pool with us, you are going to notice quite a range of size of animals. We have a few different ages in the pool here next to us. One of them being our new little baby. You can see her right over here, hanging out playing with her uncle. So that little baby is only 4 months old. Her name is Amaya. She was born on December 2nd. And next to her right there in the slide out, that is Makani. He is 2 years old, so he's our other youngster. So they really enjoy playing together. So I'm going to start out talking a little bit about the family. The first being Kasatka. Kasatka is our dominant whale. Killer whales live in what we call a matriarch society. So one female is in charge, and that is Kasatka's role. Now she holds that title based solely on her attitude and her personality. She's not the biggest or the oldest whale. So it's really neat to see how they are dominant in that way, even when they're not the biggest animal. Now, Kasatka is about 39 years old, and she lives here with 3 of her offspring, one of them being Nakai, who is 13, who's one of our males, also Kalia, who is a 10-year-old female, and lastly Makani, who again is that 2-year-old male. Now, Kalia is the female that just recently had her very first calf, which is Amaya, so that makes Kasatka a grandmother, so that's kind of fun. We have a nice lineage right here together. So again, you can see them hanging out over there. You can kind of see the size difference between Amaya, again, at 4 months, and Makani at 2 years. Now, also in the pool is Orkid. Orkid was our very first baby Shamu born here at SeaWorld San Diego. She was born back in 1988. And she's also one of the smartest animals that we have here. So each whale is very different. They have different personalities, different learning levels, just like we do. But Orkid is very unique. She can actually take a behavior and move it up about 3, 4, 5 more steps. So you might see the animals jumping over on the other side of the pool. That in itself is a really, really neat behavior. However, Orkid can take that 1 step further, and she can jump while she's turning her body ventral, squirting water, waving her flippers, and wiggling her tail flukes back and forth. And she can remember to do all of those things at once as she's jumping, which is a pretty neat feat to see. Shamu Stadium. I'll talk about Pete. Pete's our gentle giant. He is about 7,800 pounds. And believe it or not, he's still not even the largest here at Shamu Stadium. But he definitely has a very gentle personality. Also, Ike, who's one of our more playful animals. He's in a different pool right now. He weighs in just around 6,300 pounds. And then the last male I'm going to talk about is Ulysses. Ulysses is the largest whale here at Shamu Stadium. Does anybody have a guess as to how big he is? How much does he weigh?
No, thank you. No, you're good. Thank you.
700 pounds. Okay, what else? Anybody else have a guess? What do you think? 1,000. That's a little bit closer. He's actually just under 10,000 pounds. So he's a big guy. So for all of you sitting at a 4-person table here, if you look at your tabletop, that's about the size of his flipper. His flipper's actually a little bit bigger than that. So that's pretty neat. Now the other dolphin that I'm going to talk, or the other whale I'm going to talk about is Shuka. Shuka was born at a marine facility in France. She eventually made her way out to Vallejo, California, where she lived with bottlenose dolphins. Now, one of the really unique things about Shuka is that while she was living with dolphins, she picked up some of their sounds, their vocalizations. Now, eventually, when she came to live here about 3 years ago, to live with other killer whales, she has since taught those sounds to the whales here, which is pretty amazing. Before, and now they're learning them from another whale. And our final whale is Corky. Corky is our oldest whale. She is 50 years old. However, she does not let age slow her down. She's also one of our most active whales. She's usually seen on her free time cruising around, doing laps around the pool ventrally. That's kind of her thing. She loves to do it. That's her cruise mode. So that's a little bit about Corky. So that's a little bit about their personalities. Now, over to my left, you can see that Lindy's kind of hanging out with the whales. She's giving them ice cubes. You might say, that's weird. Why is she giving them ice? Well, ice is just another way to reward and reinforce the whales. So when we give them fish, that is what they need to survive. So we call that their primary reinforcement. But we also have what's called secondary reinforcers. So these can be things like the ice cubes that you just saw, even jellos, snowballs, throwing toys in the pool. We have a big ball that we hang up over on the other side of the pool. We can hang it out over the pool, and the animals have learned that if they jump up and they pop that ball, they're able to get fun stuff to fall out of it, like ice cubes or fish, or even jello. And then we can also give them back rubs and belly rubs. Tactile can also be a way to reinforce the animals, and again, that gets back to their different personalities. And that's one of the coolest things about being a trainer is you spend time with these animals and you really develop a relationship with them, and you learn what they like and what they don't like. And that is, of course, what you're going to use for that particular animal to reward them. Now, another thing you might hear Lindy blowing her whistle throughout the presentation. Now, the whistle just communicates to the whales, good job. Now, of course, if we have a brand new baby like Amaya and she is just learning to hear that whistle, she's not going to automatically know what that means. But through conditioning, through reinforcement of small baby steps and repetition, eventually she will start to understand that after she hears that whistle, it's followed by some type of reward or reinforcement. So hearing that whistle in itself becomes a really good thing for the animals. That in itself becomes a type of reward. And they get really excited when they hear it because they understand that they have done a great job. So if you focus your attention out to the pool, they are all giving you a big wave right now. In the pool we have Orkid, Nakai, Kasatka, Makani, Kalia, and Amaya. One of the other things you may notice is their teeth. They have over 40 conically shaped teeth. That means they look like upside down snow cones. They'll use those teeth to grab and tear fish into smaller pieces, and then they will swallow those pieces whole. They don't waste time chewing food like we do, just down the hatch. Now, as they're looking at Lindy patiently right now, you might look just to the corners of their mouth. About 2 to 3 inches back, you will see their eyes. Their eyes are located just in front of that white oval eye patch on each side of their heads. Killer whales have excellent eyesight. They can see both inside and outside of the water. And one of the neatest things is that they have a gelatinous membrane over that eye, so they're able to see inside and outside of the water without that eye drying out. That's one of those cool adaptations for their environment. Now, killer whales do have ears. You don't see them sticking out right now, but they don't have goofy-looking externals like we do. They just have tiny little pinholes on each side of their head. And that is how they hear all of our noises. However, they can distinguish sounds that are much, much higher than our own. So they can hear sounds very acutely that we can't even hear, which is pretty amazing. So we are doing a hearing study right now where we can play tones underwater at varying frequencies and varying volumes. And from this data, we're able to get a baseline of what cetaceans can hear. So how can this help us, you ask? Well, that can help us because there's a lot of companies or boats, machinery that's putting off these sounds in the ocean. And just because we can't hear the sound doesn't mean that there's not some sort of high-pitched frequency that's going off that could possibly be harming these animals out in the ocean. So that's really cool data to be able to use as research for their counterparts out in the ocean. Now, another thing you might notice as they're swimming around is that dorsal fin, that predominant fin right there on their backs. The dorsal fin is for balance and stability in the water. Now, a lot of people ask us, why do some of the fins curve or bend, and why are some of them straight? It's a great question. Each animal is very different, so their dorsal fins are going to be unique to them. They are going to be different. They also do not have any bone or skeletal structure in that dorsal fin. The fin is made of connective tissue, dense fibrous connective tissue, a lot like the cartilage that's in your nose and in your ears. So if you think about that, if more animals are spending time at the surface of the water, that tissue could start to bend. It could start to move back and forth. Now, another reason for that being the size. If you think of someone who has larger ears or a larger nose, it can start to move over time. That's also kind of the same concept. If you've got a really large mammal, such as Ulysses or Keith, and that dorsal fin is close to 6 feet tall, that tissue can definitely start to weaken or break down just because of how heavy it is. Now, you just heard some of those vocalizations over there. Now, all of their vocalizations or their sounds are being emitted from their blowholes. A lot of people think that they have vocal cords like we do. Well, they don't. So like I said, they're emitting air out of that blowhole at little bitty bits at a time, and that's how they're able to make all of those sounds. So if you want to focus your attention over here to the far side of the pool, close to me, I guess that's the close side of the pool right here next to us. Orkid's on her way over. She is going to do a slide up right here on this slide out. Here she comes. You did that, baby.
Wow, baby, look at her looking at you. Baby.
And here comes Kasatka over on the far slide out. Now she is around 5,500 pounds, so that also gives you a little perspective. If you look at Kasatka at 5,500 pounds slid up over there, Ulysses is about twice her size. So that gives you a little perspective as to how big he is as well. So each of our sessions is always very different and unique. We never want to do the same thing over and over again. We want the animals to always be enriched and stimulated and thinking of something new. So this is kind of a cool session that Lindy is doing right now. Sometimes we have a trainer for each of the whales. Sometimes, like she's doing right now, she's got one trainer with all of the whales, hanging out with them, doing some different behaviors. And this is really cooperative learning for the whales as well. We're asking them to work together very cooperatively, which is really nice as well. physical adaptations for these animals is their flippers. So a big difference between their flippers, Amaya's showing off her flipper right now. That's pretty cute for all of you that just saw that. So their flippers are those arm-like appendages on each side of their body. The big difference is there is bone in them. So unlike the dorsal fin being all that cartilagen-like material, the flippers are made of bones. They have 5 digits, very similar to what we have in our hands. So they use those flippers to steer, to turn right, to turn left, or to help themselves stop in the water. And then moving on down towards their tail fluke, they have a very powerful muscle there in their tail. It's called the peduncle. And they move that muscle in up and down thrusts, and that's how they're able to speed through the water. They don't use that tail moving side to side like fish or sharks do. It's in an up and down motion, and they can reach top speeds of about 28 miles per hour, which is pretty fast for marine mammals out in the open ocean.
Thank you. Would you like a straw? No, thank you. That's fine.
And on down past the peduncle, at the very end of their tail, we have what's called the tail flukes. The flukes are similar to the peduncle, or similar to the dorsal fin, and that there is no bone or skeletal structure. It's all that dense connective tissue. And the other cool thing about their tail flukes is the edge of the flukes is unique to that individual whale. You're going to see a little marking there, a weathering mark, and that's very normal and it's very unique to each whale. So a lot of times researchers out in the ocean will take pictures of a whale's dorsal fin and their tail flukes, again, because the notches and the very unique structure of those flukes as well as the dorsal fin is very unique to each individual whale. Another cool thing to notice is their coloration. Everyone notices that killer whales are black and white. But do you know why they're black and white? This color is called counter shading. That dark back blends in with the bottom of the ocean. That light belly is going to blend in with the light from the surface. So it really helps them camouflage themselves within their environment. When they're sneaking up on prey or hunting, they're able to really blend in with their surroundings. So we were talking about other ways to reward and reinforce the animals. You can see Lindy now has brought out some really fun snowballs. So she's hanging out throwing snowballs to the whales. This again is another treat and another type of reinforcement for these animals.
How about the baby? Does the baby have a little bit? Huh? Does the baby have a little bit? She would like some.
And you can see little Amaya back there hanging out as well. One of the neat things watching her grow and develop is seeing her learn next to her mom, seeing her take her first swims actually, learning to do corkscrews next to her mom. She's even doing vocalizations now, so she's starting to make all these little sounds. She used to do just a tiny little whistle, and that's what we call a signature whistle. A lot of times that's how moms and calves will communicate. But now she's making a lot of different vocalizations, starting to imitate some of the older whales here. The other cool thing is she's starting to get curious about trainers and having her own trainer. She's even allowing us to interact with her, to touch her. She's even eating a couple little fish here and there. So it's really amazing to kind of watch her growing and developing, both physically and mentally.
Tipo coisas baleias. Já pegou aí.
do have to conclude this dive with Shamu. At this time, the whales are going to give you a big killer whale wave goodbye, so you can focus your attention out to the center of the pool. And also down by the long slide out.
Oh, look at
There they go. Great job. All right, you guys can give them a big round of applause. On behalf of all the trainers, the dive staff, and of course these amazing whales, we thank you for coming today. Thank you for asking questions. And again, if you do have anything else that you'd like to know, please feel free to ask us. We'll be walking around hanging out. So with that being said, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day here at SeaWorld